thing in your nightmare, that thing that's holding you back, that thing that's dragging you down, that thing is you. You will not outwork me.
And the whole gig is just a giant hustle. That's all it is. Life is just a hustle. That's all life is. One giant hustle. All right, welcome back. It is 9:30 Monday night. I've already been in here working on this fender, get some stuff done. But we are gonna, in this video, do this front end. That's what this video is gonna be about for the most part. So we're continuing moving forward with Randy's all glass one-piece front end, meaning both fenders are steel if you're new to the channel. The front end is a composite carbon fiber nose cone. I'll flip the camera around and show you. So it went through rough mock-up, meaning it does have holes in it from the tree. I'll show you that in case you're new. And the top's been cut. We gotta clean everything up, make everything look good. I do not have the headlights in my possession, so I can't fit the headlights in the front end. And I don't think I will be fitting the headlights in the front end before paint. I'm trying to comb through this. There's a lot to do on my plate, and if I can just get the paint done, then, you know, come final assembly or whatever, we can fit the headlights in. Then it's not that big of a deal to tape it up. And where you have to cut, to fit the headlights in anyway, it's not like it hurts if you damage any paint, because the headlights will always be in the front bumper. So with that said, let's flip the camera around, but make sure you smash that bell button, turn on notifications so you're notified every time I post a video, and so that you stay in the loop, because we go through these fast sometimes and it's really hard to catch up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, so this is your standard carbon fiber one-piece nose cone. It's been cut out for the exhaust. Jason Braswell at BPF did all of that. Did an amazing job on everything, but we do have to go back and do a couple things behind Jason. So he built the tree in here. He did amazing putting the tree in. It's pretty cool how they do all this. It looks like it's basically fiberglassed onto the thing, and then I'm guessing the rivets were drilled out afterwards, or the bolts were drilled out, because you can see where they were in there whenever it was fiberglassed, obviously, to hold it in place. But yeah, it's all that's all done on the inside. So like I said, nothing has been cut. Up top, you can see where Jason has put marks on it, where he was laying out where to cut it at, and you can see that he's left us some jagged, rough, very rough edges. So we are going to smooth all of that out, clean all that up. So when the hood's off this car, this is a major focal point, so we want to have that looking correct and clean, and then we're going to go over the front end. Now this front end looks really freaking good compared to the last one that we did on Randy's car. We're going to clean up the corners. So your corners are jagged, and they're actually a little already chipped up from shipping and stuff like that. So we're going to make sure, or just from fab work, I guess, whatever. There's actually a lip on there. It's not, I can feel it now. It's not safe at all. So you can kind of see, wanted to focus that lip right there, okay? And that's probably just from the manufacturing process where this thing pops out of the mold. We need to roll that. So we need that edge rolled, let's walk over here and look at a couple vehicles like this. Your edge is not sharp on anything, it's rolled, okay? So we want to make all of these parts look close to factory, meaning this edge cannot be square. This is actually worse than square. If you could feel it right here, this corner right here actually sticks out farther than this or this. There's literally a buildup on the edge. So we've got to knock that buildup down. That's the reason why it chipped right there and cracked off. I'm guessing from rubbing the fenders. And the same story on this side. There's actually a buildup. So we don't want to sand anything tight per se, or down, or adjust any lines. We literally just want to roll that edge and get rid of that edge. So let's get at it. I think I'm going to start figuring out first laying out my top. Let me show you that. All right, step one, laying out your top, laying out the part that you see whenever you open it up. So what I've done is I come in here and I check Jason's measurements. Jason's measurements are rough, and he probably just took his Sharpie and his hand, and probably did a gig like this and just kind of free-handed it around, I'm guessing. That's perfectly fine for mock-up. There's nothing wrong with that at all. All he did was the mock-up to get everything together. It's our job to clean this up. So how do you clean up underneath your front piece, your nose? You probably cut, you know, maybe you went ahead and rough cut some stuff out for the tubing work. Or maybe you just want to mock this up like this to begin with. So I took and used kind of a couple steps to figure out what Jason had going on. The first thing I did was I laid 2-inch tape across here. I literally taped it running across this headlight so that it was equal spacing like this. And then I ran 2-inch tape like this, and I only went from about here to here and just copied that. Then I realized that I still had a gap from here to here, so the next closest piece of tape was the 1/2 inch. So I stacked the 1/2 inch on top of it, and then when I got over here, I quickly realized that my gap was a lot bigger than it is down there, as you can see. So I said, okay. I said, well, let's go ahead and check our measurements and see where we're at. So then to do from the measurement points, I went from right here, and I butted the tape down to it. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed with y'all, but I butted the tape down there, and then I bent it around, and that gives me 9.5 to right there. So I made me a mark, 9.5, and I measured this side. This was 9.5, made a mark, make sure that's right. So since we're laying out our center, I do the same thing, come off of here, bend the tape, pop 9.5. There's my little mark right there. Okay, so 9.5, 9.5, 9.5. That's where I bent the tape. Coming over here, it gets a little more tricky. You don't have a contour for a tape to follow. So basically your tape would be, if you went, oh, the tape's messing up. If you went 9.5, you would be straight through here, you know, because there's nothing to bend against, versus this, it will wrap around. So you wouldn't get the true same distance on the tape. You know, your 9.5 would actually be moved up. So what I did was, being I already had, like I said, my 1.5 laid out. My 2-inch was here. My 1.5 was double stacked. I checked my measurements. I said, well, let's just see how stacking 2-inch and then 1.5 off of your corner. Let's see how equal that is off of that. So this is the side that I'm using to start with. This is the tightest side, so we're going to make our cuts, take meat off of that side kind of. I come off of this corner, measure to here, we get 5 inches. I come over here, come off to this corner, measure to here, we get 5 inches. So now we've established that our line here is the same as down there, and our 3 points in the center are equal. All you gotta do is freehand and connect the dots now. Now pretty much went straight from that 5-inch to this 9.5, from this 9.5 to that 5-inch. That's pretty much went straight. I have a 9.5 in the center, and so then I just kind of curved the tape a little bit, and it really don't look bad at all. There's a little that needs to be taken out right here. You can see that kind of looks like a dip, and over there you got, it kind of looks straighter, whereas over here we have that dip. So we're going to clean that up a little bit, put a little bit more straight back in there, and then I'll show you what we got. All right, so now you can kind of see that our swoop looks pretty decent. We're not looking for perfection. Again, the hood will be over top of this, and when the hood's off, nobody's going to see it. But we have walked up over top of where our 9.5 is, so you can see the distance there. The tape is overlapped and it's hanging over, so we are walking that side up a little bit more, and that's fine. I'm not even 100% sure if these are 100% true. Let's see. They probably should be really close. Let's see if the opening is true. That's gonna be 5 3/4. It's gonna be 5 7/8. 5 3/4. On the other side of this divot to this corner, we got 6 inches to that point. The other side of this divot to that point, we got 6 inches. So our center right here is roughly shy 1/8 or an 1/8 of an inch off. Shy 1/8 probably. You know, 1/8 of an inch, somewhere in that ballpark off. So the center's not perfect. You're not going to get perfection out of this, but you want to try to get as much as possible. So now, how in the world do you get symmetrical curves from this side to this side? Well, you could take you a paper template, cut it. That's what a lot of people do, is cardboard, and then flip it. Or you can find you something laying around that will match what you want. Boom. All right, so I tested the bottom of my Purple Power bucket. It wasn't the radius I wanted. So if we take our bucket and we come in here and we sit our lid tight up against that edge, and then we roll it to where it is on our tape pretty much. We'll measure the distance from here, okay, to here, right here, and we will make a mark. down there also to make sure that we're hitting the same curve, and then we will trace our bucket in here to get that radius. All right, so I got it laid out. I'm not a huge fan. I was going to lay it up to here, and then I decided I'm not actually a huge fan of putting that up to here. Leaves me no meat, gets me really close to this point right here in this edge, and I don't like that. So we're going to leave Jason's cut alone, what he's done, and I will just roll his cut. I will roll into his cut. That way my radius is not going straight into that corner, because I really don't like that too much. So I laid me 1/2 inch of tape, and then I took and did this radius right here. Now from here to this point is 5 1/4, and then from here to this point is 5 1/4. This is my radius right here. That was Jason's mark. So this was my radius. When we peel the tape back, we can see that's going to go up and then kind of put us back a little bit. So we're going to have to clean some of this point off, and we're going to kind of have to taper this by hand into there. That's not an end of the world at all. You know, that's fine. We'll just freehand this and roll this kind of back. I just don't want my me sweeping into this with a sharp point. Kind of want to step that away before I make that curve. Anytime you have a point, that's weakening this fiberglass or carbon fiber. So I just don't want to be the reason anything happens. Therefore, I'm stepping mine back. That is literally why, so everybody knows. You're more than welcome to radius yours straight in that point if you want. I don't want to do that. I'd rather freehand from about here into that point, you know, and just kind of go with that. Like I said, it's just personal preference. There's not a right or wrong, or really any more of a reason behind it than that. I don't like that. You know, I don't want that sharp of a radius. This is what that radius would have looked like if you would have done that with this lid. Okay, see what I'm saying? That's getting to be a really good, not a lot of meat there versus me moving it over to here and then rolling into it. You could have got you a different, I guess, radius or something, but that's what I'm doing. So yeah, okay. So let's get this all cut up. I'm gonna probably use a combination of a body saw and then the grinders. I'm gonna go ahead and get this cut. I'll probably actually tape this real fast, my exact radius I want. I'll probably go ahead and straighten this out and then follow that. Let me tape that and I'll show you. All right, so there's what my final radius looks like. Come in at my 5 1/4, and I pretty much went out to his. So you can see there is my Sharpie line, how it cuts up, and I basically just went over to his point right there. So that little bit of white right in my finger is actually fiberglass that was left behind from his cut. So I'm just intersecting right there, and that's keeping me, you know, a little bit of ways away and not making it so sharp. So again, I'm starting, you can barely see through the tape, at my 5 1/4 reference. I'm following my Sharpie line all the way to about right here, and then I'm just kind of killing it straight over to, again, this little piece of fiberglass right here that he left behind, and then I'll clean all that up. So let's get this cut out, and that should be our opening, and it should be pretty decently, it should look pretty decently symmetrical. All right, so there's my cut. I used the combination. If you really had one of these, you'd be okay. I took the guard off of this thing a long time ago because this thing is just, it does not work right at all. I need to pick up another one from Harbor Freight. Something wrong internally with it. And so I use it once in a blue moon, but normally it doesn't work. But I did the radiuses with it. If you have a jigsaw, that would work fine too. I would use a metal blade so that it's fine teeth on it so that it don't shatter it and everything, and then I just use a straight cutoff wheel. You can also use an angle grinder, you know, whatever you got. Basically I did the straights with the cutoff wheel. I radiused it with that, and then I pretty much just ran the straights with the cutoff wheel. We're gonna come back in here with the combination of the DA sander. We're gonna do the DA sander from here to here, and that's gonna get us a nice flat kind of sweep pretty much, and then we will probably do the curves by hand, and we will take our 90-degree grinder and very carefully do the upper radiuses. This is 36 grit. This thing cuts really fast, so you want to be very careful. But we will clean up this curve right here, this jagged edge. We will clean all of this up with this guy right here. So we can go ahead and get a tape off. I like to do the DA on the straight parts because it is straighter, and so it will help basically cut straight in the areas that I kind of want straight, versus if you use this little guy right here, then you could be digging, you know, you could be digging this deep in this area, and then this deep in this area, and nothing in this area, and then back deep in this area, and so you can end up with a wavy curve. Whereas the DA, if I find it, I've lost everything. Where's my DA at? Oh, hiding over here with the fender. We got the body work done on the fender. The DA is a wider, so you see, we'll be able to cut this straighter and knock some of the waviness out with the DA from about here to here. But you want to make sure you don't dig this side of the DA like that into your radius. So you really want to stop about back right here. See how that's not dug in? And then up here, you can tell it's going to start digging in. So you want to stay maybe, I'm going to stay at the headlight bucket. We're sticking out right there and just work it between the headlight buckets. And then I'll take a block and slightly roll my block and just cut this out by hand. All right, so there is what we end up with. You can't really ask better than that. Look at that. Look how much better that looks, that I didn't just kill into that really sharp, and instead I kind of rolled it this way and then rolled it that way. That looks good. It gives you a little bit more support there. Like I said, I didn't take off any more meat. That was what was left over from the fabrication process. And it's, again, the same thing on this side. It rolls in. So that's beautiful, man. I really love that. If we get an overhead shot, look at that. That is symmetrical. It looks pretty good. These lines right here might be throwing your eyes off, but if these lines were gone, you know, I just showed you that we literally did symmetrical cuts. And like you've seen, I did exactly what I said with what tools I did, and then I took the hard block. You can see where I did that. I basically curved it like this, and then I used it in this direction to get this like this, okay? And then I just went back again in this direction and did it like that. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm cutting the bottom at a 45, I'm cutting the top at a 45, and I'm cutting the face first. So I'm facing it, and then I'm 45 in, and that's gonna create a roll by the time we get the paint on. It's gonna be built up. Make sure there's no sharp fiberglass or carbon pieces left behind on this edge. Once we put the paint on this edge, it will all smooth out really good. And if anything, you can run rubber edge protector around the edge. Maybe I can talk Randy and actually buying a roll of it this time and taking care of this stuff, you know, going the extra mile and putting that actual rubber edge over that to help preserve that edge from getting chipped. But even if we don't get a rubber edge on it, this is not going to irritate your arm. If you're working in here or you're grabbing something, right here is not going to be fiberglass all in your arm or carbon or whatever like that, because we've got a nice, beautiful, smooth rolled edge now. And then, you know, the paint's going to even make it, paint primers and make it more smoother. It is well into the latter part of the 10 o'clock hour, so fortunately I'm gonna go ahead and call it stops for tonight. So we're not gonna get these holes or anything sanded. We're gonna call it a night though. Man, this thing is beautiful. It is so nice not having to do so much cleanup, but we got to do all these edges, like I said. So that's gonna be it for tonight. Peace.